How's it going, YouTube? Oxy here, and welcome back. So, today I'm going to be reviewing Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and I'll just say it right off the bat. I think it's one of Marvel's best movies, period. It's one of, like, MCU, anything. I think it's just one of their best movies they've done. I really liked it. I thought it was great, and it's a fitting farewell to James Gunn, and of course, if you don't know, he is the co-CEO of DC Studios and will be one of the many people behind essentially a rebooted DCU, how Marvel has their MCU, right? Of course, DC's famously has been really hit or miss. It didn't do so well in terms of shared universe, right? When it comes to solo projects like the Joker or Matt Reeves, the Batman, DC knocks it out the park. Marvel does not compete in that aspect. But in shared universe, Marvel is the de facto in all of cinema. They're the biggest, right? They're the ones that did it first. And yeah, James Gunn is leaving Marvel, working with them to again be one of the big guys at DC. And yeah, I think it's a fitting farewell. Great film that he left with, and yeah, the future is bright for DC specifically. Seeing what this movie did, so I will possibly touch on some spoilers. I don't want to go too into it. Again, I think it's great. Go see it. So here, what did I like about the film? For one, stakes. Uh, I'll get out the way. I, I maybe like some of you out there was like I got into the MCU right in the beginning, Iron Man, that sort of thing. I was really into it, watching every movie. I love the whole shared universe aspect, but over time it kind of got old for me. I wasn't as engaged. Um, Especially with more later phases, like I just stopped caring, to be honest. Like I didn't keep up with it. I would see the one-off movie because friends or someone would want to go see it, so we would, but I stopped keeping up with it. And until recently, honestly, I would say Spider-Man No Way Home was like the movie that I definitely was like excited for, but more so for the nostalgia of like the Tobey Maguire coming back as Spider-Man. I didn't see The Amazing, so I don't know anything about the Andrew Garfield one, but yeah. So Marvel wasn't my thing, but I respect it. I mean, I enjoyed it, so I didn't pretend to like never like it. I did, but especially after Thor: Love and Thunder, which, oh my gosh, I'm sorry if you like it, but that was my worst movie of 2022. Just awful, really bad, like cringy. So, my main issue with Marvel is too many jokes, which again, the main audience is for kids, or like it's like a lowest common denominator, like just reach everybody. But man, that really cemented the like, yeah, this isn't for me anymore. But I went into this because the Guardians, the first one was definitely a risk for Marvel, right? They're not established characters as your Spider-Man, your Iron Man. Two, I really liked, of course, again, stakes. The whole like, if you haven't seen that movie, spoiler, Yondu dying, right? And it's like, okay, you actually have like, you know, danger, conflict, because that's one thing. It's like if you know everybody's safe, it's like, why do I care, right? Like, why are you showing me this story? Is it just for your like silly antics? But what I will credit, again, stakes. Like literally at the start of the film, he's in the trailers, but Adam Warlock is in it, and he is like immediately shown as a threat, right? Like we're seeing all the Guardians, right? Like all of them living on like in the head of like, I'm pretty sure it's the Celestial, and Warlock shows up and literally like puts Rocket in critical condition for like the whole movie. And that's our plot, is that Rocket is in critical condition and they have to save him, right? We find out his backstory, which is really sad. about, what he went through with our movie's villain, the High Evolutionary, and the experiments he did, right? In the hopes of searching for the perfect organism, or like to create the perfect society. And yeah, it's like Adam Warlock instantly comes in, neutralizes, he's a threat. Um, the High Evolutionary is a fantastic villain, one of Marvel's best. Like, I apologize, I don't know the actor's name, but he did his thing. Like, I hated this guy. It helps, I will say, with Rocket and that backstory and the characters you meet. Them being animals, of course, it's a very like against animal cruelty or bringing attention to that, and yeah, it really works. I had heard reports that there were a lot of moms or parents that didn't appreciate some of the scenes in this movie, and before seeing it, I was like, "Oh, you're just being like wussies, right? Like, what are you crying about?" But no, it's PG-13, but I can say that especially for a younger child, there are some scenes that really like kind of toe that line of like, ooh, like this might actually like hit them. But I really, again, stakes. I really like it. It's a Marvel movie, so they always have to have comedy. That's just something like feel like it's in the contract. Like you cannot do a serious one with the MCU. But despite that, yes, it'll have its silly moments. But I like that whether it be Star Lord or someone will be like, "Hey, but guys, we gotta save Rocket." Like we're always like reminded, or the characters. It's like, "Hey, we gotta we have something to focus on." It's like, "Thank you," move the plot along. Don't give me pointless scenes of the characters being goofy for the sake of it. Like actually show like yes, it gives them character, but show me like urgency. I really enjoyed that. Again, Rocket, great character after this. I feel like a lot of people are gonna love him. Like it's really, really good. Again, High Evolutionary, fantastic villain. You really hate this guy. And I like that parallel because, again, this guy's obsessed with creating the perfect organism. And Rocket, of course, is one of those experiments. But and I don't know, like, I got kind of symbolism. Like, was High Evolutionary meant to represent God, as in, yeah, like, God? And Rocket almost like, not Lucifer, but the idea of, like, a depiction of like an Old Testament God, as in like very emotional, very like jealous, because um, the High Evolutionary is trying to figure something out, but he can't do it, and then Rocket is the one to figure it out, right? So it's like this idea that the student, the created, surpassed the creator, and that obviously messes with his ego, messes with like how could this be? You are nothing to me, and I really like that. It really gave a like, huh, because then there's a lot of augmentation and that sort of thing, and I'm like, okay, is like James Gunn also maybe talking about what our future will hold as a species? You hear the talks about AI, and hey, we had amazing movies, in the 80s, 90s, the Terminator. They had this idea that whatever you believe in, I'm not here to, right? That's to each their own. We were created by something, someone. We were created. And the AI is essentially the next step, as in, like, we create that, right? Like, we are its gods. But then, just like in this movie, it's like, but always, like, history repeats itself in the sense of, like, you will always be surpassed. So I felt like, yeah, it was maybe just a warning of, like, don't nothing lasts forever, but this idea of like, oh, I'm better is like, no, right? The idea is like endless, almost evolution or like progression, right? Where it's like, things will be better, better. Like, yeah. So I did like that. I did like that. Um, it gave it gave a good reason, like why um the High Evolutionary is so obsessed with Rocket. It's like, no, because he's the one that like surpassed them, and that was really nice. Set design, everything really great. The actors were all great. I mean, Batista, he's always. I do find him funny. I will admit, Marvel humor is really hit or miss for me. Of course, humor is subjective, so some of you might love it, some of you might hate it. I can't really rate that. But to me, I'm like, okay, it was done fine. Again, it's expected to be there, but it was done in a way that like wasn't too like Thor: Love and Thunder, where it's like a constant, like it gets annoying. It was really good. Again, there were stakes. I think they did a good job of using all the characters. Like Nebula was really great. Mantis too. There's a scene towards the end with I'll just say like big monsters, and then she like tames them, and it's pretty funny. It's pretty cool. I love the enemy designs too. Like they call them Hellspawn, but they're essentially augmented animals, and like it's like a pig with like machine guns and stuff. Really great design. There's an awesome action scene, which you'll know. There's a song playing. It's in slow mo, one shot, and like all the Guardians are running through the base. Like it's really well done. Um, Negatives, this is more a Disney thing, which again I mentioned is like there always has to be humor. So you could say that tonally sometimes like it'll be like, oh, funny moment, and then it's like sad, and it's like sometimes it could be a little jarring. But again, it's more a Disney thing at that point, which I can't really I can't really knock on James Gunn, because it's like he did his thing, and it wasn't overbearing. But I do appreciate that in this movie, I believe, being that he's left too, he has more creative control, because he really went all in. Seriously, the amount of violence and stuff, like that line that they push. It's PG-13, so they're allowed one F word, and they use it. Yeah, can you believe it? A Marvel movie that curses, but they do. But it's done in a great way, and yeah, I'll say that it's refreshing, like seriously, just to see one of their movies like actually have stuff mean something, and like you meet like side characters, and then it's like, oh, like they're all dead, like the planet's getting destroyed, and then yeah, it's like you meet them, but then you see like the repercussions, you see them in danger, and it's like, oh wow, like you really, you showed that. But I appreciate that, because that's one thing that's always like kind of forgotten about in these movies. And I'll say I really like the ending too. Or so, if you weren't aware, contractually, Zoe Saldana, I believe, the actress who plays Gamora, and Dave Bautista, of course, who plays Drax, they're done. Like they're out of Marvel after this movie. So the rumor, which is the usual way, like Robert Downey Jr., right, in Endgame was like, oh, you killed them. And that's what I expected. The movie really plays with Rocket dying, and oh man, that scene was really sad. Especially if you're like a pet owner or you just love animals. It's really hard. Like, when he's literally there with his friends who you meet in the movie, and he's kind of like, I want to go with you guys. Like, it's really nice. Like, it really tugs at the heartstrings. But the ending I appreciate, because spoiler, so it's a pretty big one, so go see it. As I said, none of them die, which I'm like, okay, nice swerve, like that was really good. I love it because it reflects real life in the sense, so all the characters essentially go their separate ways. Rocket and Groot are the only ones left in the Guardians, which makes sense. I mean, hey, you want to be cynical, like, oh, the CGI characters. Well, yeah, but all the other actors are moving on. But it was really nice to, like, none of them died. It was all like, just, no, we have our own journeys to go. Which was nice with Gamora, too, because that was another, like, thing throughout the movie of, like, her and Star-Lord don't have a thing anymore, right? She doesn't remember. And they don't get back together. It is like, no, we're very much like, I'm someone, I'm not the person you knew. Like, I don't have that memory. And he comes to terms with that, and it's like, hey, I'm happy for you. You have your family, and yeah, it's just all the characters kind of going their separate ways, and it really, which again parallels James Gunn like leaving, right, going off to DC. But what was really kind of was like that little like cherry on top was so Groot, as we know, who's awesome in this movie, really great. Um, he only speaks in "I am Groot," right? Like that's all we can hear. But just like Chewbacca in Star Wars, where we don't know what they're saying, but all the characters do. There's a thing reflected at the end where we finally, because we're part of the family, like the audience, when they're all leaving, we understand them. Like instead of "I am Groot," it's like "I love you guys," and it's like as they go in their separate ways. And yeah, just really well done. Seriously, it's easily in my top 5, maybe top 3 MCU movies. Like it's not even close in my opinion. And I would rate it. I give it a 9 on a good day, like a 9.5 out of 10. Seriously, I enjoyed it. But hey, that's just my opinion. Maybe you think it's the worst one ever, and Thor's like Love and Thunder's your favorite, right? But we're all allowed to. But to me, it was just nice. It was a nice ending to an otherwise great trilogy. I think. I think as a trilogy, they're pretty good. And yeah, like the scenes, there's like end credit scenes as you expect, and one of them, again spoilers, teases the new Guardians with Rocket Raccoon as the new leader, and it's pretty nice. Like it's like this chapter of them is over, but it'll continue on, and yeah, it was cool to see. And I'll check it out, an eventual Guardians 4, though I doubt it would be James Gunn, so we'll see how that turns out. But I really enjoyed it, and if you were someone like me who disgruntled or not really into Marvel, I do say give it a shot. I think you'll like this one. A lot of the things that me or you maybe didn't like, I think they fix or like at least address, and it's like thank you. But yeah, guys, that's my thoughts. What do you think? Have you seen it? Are you going to? And yeah, I make new videos twice a week, usually Tuesdays and Saturdays. And if you like this type of content, please be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that good jazz. And as always, everyone, I've been your host, Oxy. Take care, and I'll see you next time.